Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mac Talk, where today I talked about all things music. I'm your host, Dylan Shabilsky, and let's get ready for a little small talk on Mac Talk. Hello everyone, let's give a warm welcome to Associate Music Professor and Music Director of the Oshkosh Symphony Orchestra, Dr. Dylan Chmura-Moore, and Director of Choral Activities here at UWO, Dr. Kristen Ramseyer. Can you both please briefly explain what you do in your roles here? We'll start with you, Dylan.
Well, at Oshkosh, I conduct the orchestra. I teach a bunch of other classes. One of the things I love to do on campus is teach classes to gen eds, to non-music majors, introducing them to this awesome world of music that I love so deeply and bring them out to concerts as much as possible.
I direct three curricular ensembles here on campus. We have a choir for everybody. So if you're interested in singing in choir, you should. There's something for you. But also I teach a bunch of the music education coursework, choral conducting, elementary music methods, secondary non-traditional music methods, things like that.
Cool. And I guess before we talk about your concert from the other week, I just wanted to ask about the Oshkosh Symphony Orchestra itself. For those who are unfamiliar with it, can you tell us about the organization?
Well, it's a super old organization. It's going on 85 years now. It started right after World War II, where there was so much immigration happening in the community, and there wasn't an outlet for making music. And so it started as this community organization only of community musicians, of so many immigrants who needed some place to put their joy and put their love and all the stuff they're dealing with what just happened around internationally in the world. And it became this huge sensation across the community. It was the social event for decades upon decades upon decades. And then it turned into this full professional thing, and it changed a little bit more and changed a little bit more and changed into this and morphed into this. And now it is this awesome hybridized orchestra where we've gone back to its roots that made it so important to the community, where it's one part adult community musicians, one part professionals, and one part UWO students that come together and have some wonderful community and making some music.
If you wanted to add anything onto that, you can.
My only involvement in the chamber or the Oshkosh Symphony Orchestra is our collaboration at the end of the year.
And I guess, how did you get involved with them then?
Well, I was here, in the COVID era, the dark times, hide your face. And so what that means for professional performing musicians and organizations, that we had nothing to do for a couple of years. And so the orchestra, the Oshkosh Symphony Orchestra, closed its doors basically and didn't know if it was ever going to open its doors again. And I'm sitting here pretty in my ivory tower at the university, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is my bag. This is what I do. I can't let this organization crumble and never open again. What a travesty would that be to our community? Not just the great music that it has made, but it serves generations now of musicians and will hopefully continue to serve generations of musicians all throughout their life of music making. And we need music in our lives, not just to listen to it, but there's many of us who need it to perform it too. It's part of who we are. And so I convinced the board to open its doors again, to reimagine what it could be. And we're back thriving, kicking again, and selling out shows.
That's awesome. And like you said, like, music is so important all of our lives. Like, I think about my brother, me and him during COVID, we learned how to play guitar a lot. So like, that's something that's a core memory now for me during COVID. And that really got me through the COVID of, like, you can't see anyone and it's just you and your family, or maybe not even you're not even by your family at times. So I really relate to that.
I mean, I think music is I was principally drawn to it because of its sound, but what I've learned over the years is it's not about that. It's about people. It's about bringing people together, and that be the musicians on stage, but it's also definitely the audience and how we interact with one another for sure, and with your family too. Either you form your family with these musicians that you sing with, that you play with, or your immediate family that you create those deeper bonds. Favorite song that you learned on guitar?
Southern Nights by Glenn Campbell.
There it is. Awesome.
And transitioning now for you, Dr. Ramseyer, I learned that prior to your work at UWO, You have conducted and instructed many other choirs during your time in Illinois. Can you tell us about your experience with that and how it carried over to your work here at UWO?
Absolutely. I started, my first collegiate position was at Illinois State University. I directed, well, actually, it was right after I had completed my master's there. They offered me a position, just an adjunct position. So I stayed there for a couple years and was full time adjunct faculty. I taught, directed one choir. Of their many curricular choirs, and then had a voice studio of about 14 students. So that was really my first foray into collegiate teaching. That's really where I learned that I really like this gig, you know? And so then I went and got my doctorate and taught for a couple years at Quincy University in Quincy, Illinois. And that was vastly different. It was a huge teaching load. I taught 3 choirs. I taught 2 sections or 2 levels of oral skills, everyone's favorite. I taught I taught several music education coursework classes in the trajectory for those folks, and then also had a studio of 11 to 14 voice students at any given time. So it was a huge teaching load. And then finally finished my dissertation and arrived here at Oshkosh. So I've been prepared in a lot of different types of courses. And now here I've found a beautiful balance between those 2 types of positions, really, where I'm a little more focused on my niche and my expertise here, which is great, but still teaching, wearing a couple different hats, I would say. Yeah.
And I guess outside of your work, you're very involved with music and choir, and you've helped the community with community clinics, festivals, solo ensemble events. Do you want to talk about those opportunities and your relationship with music and how that has shaped you as a director?
Sure. Doing clinics and festivals and contests, those are great ways to kind of strengthen the muscles. I don't work all of the time. I work with a lot of different age groups from elementary school all the way to senior citizens even. But then also it's a totally different animal. Like you have a very brief amount of time to work with a select group of people, or maybe even a soloist, whatever the situation may be, and you kind of have to find a way to inspire them and motivate them and give them something to work toward in a short period of time. Like, what's the crux of what they need to do? And so I guess it's the challenge of it is acting on your feet and being flexible. So that's that's what I love doing. I love teaching people and providing those opportunities with a wide range of singers.
Yeah, and like opportunities come and they go. And there was one that just happened with the concert you both recently had entitled Belonging. And before discussing anything else, I just wanted to ask who came up with the name and what was the intention behind it and why that title?
So the belonging is comprised is part of a whole season of focusing on this idea of home. What does home mean to you? As we asked our musicians, we asked our audience, and we've got great feedback there. And one of the things that home meant to them was place. And so in thinking about Oshkosh, this place, well, for me, I'm inspired by architecture. And looking around our town, we've got some pretty fantastic actually representations of numerous sorts of architecture. And so each concert was themed on a certain kind of architecture made well represented by certain buildings in our community. And so Belonging was part of this Romanesque sort of architecture that is all about making a really inviting and welcoming place where people can belong. That could be a church, that could be some other civic institution, of course. And there's two churches in town that have this Romanesque style of architecture, right up down on downtown on Algoma. And so thinking about this place and that we live in, and thinking about these great structures, well, these structures came about at certain time periods and so with certain time periods, there's certain musics, of course, that are popular with them. And you can imagine then hearing some of this great music performed in these great spaces. It has a certain character, a certain feeling. And so the music for this concert that we just performed by Dvorak and Brahms, this idea of Romanesque architecture was popular during the time where they're writing some of their music. And so that idea came through just being in the city and wanting to provide a service for our community that is welcoming and encouraging for our audience. And so that when you come in off the streets to go to hear a concert, you feel like you do belong. It's a representation of you. You see your neighbors, you see your butcher, whomever making music for you on stage. There's a sense of belonging here that we're doing it all together. And the specific music came from dialogue. Our lives as listening to music, we wouldn't be good at our jobs if we didn't know scores and scores and scores and scores of pieces. And so going back and forth of what sounds great together is step one. And then step two is what best serves our community, because every community needs different music. Our students need different music on their different paths. And we discovered this music that really leans into this idea of home and of belonging. Really short, the first Dvorak on the program is all about Dvorak spending his summers at home. He enjoyed being outside in springtime, working in his garden. And for him, he wrote this music that we performed at this kind of summer home, outside, getting his fingers in the dirt, being inspired by his surroundings, being inspired by his family, being inspired by feeling belonging. This is the place where I am most me. And the Brahms too, inspired by belonging in a different sorts of way, but literature led us down that path a little bit.
Do you have anything to add?
Those two pieces, the two Brahms pieces that the choirs sang, were two bucket list pieces for me, for sure. They're two of a short list, I think 4 poetic cantatas that Brahms wrote kind of around the same time period. And these are probably the two more popular of those 4. And so it was really exciting to be able to prepare my chorus and direct the orchestra. It was just a great experience all around.
It sounds like a great experience and a great collaboration. And we will now be taking a short break. And after that, we will be talking to choir students Trey Thomas Martin and Caitlin Wetter. Before you go, let's all say goodbye to the amazing Dylan Chmura-Moore, who will be leaving during the break. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Crazy.
And welcome back to Mac Talk. We are now joined by Trey Thomas Martin, who currently serves as the director of Tones and Titan EM, 2 student-led a cappella groups, and director of the Treble a cappella ensemble, Titans of Treble. Caitlin Wetter, also, what are your majors and favorite aspects of the choir program?
So I'm a music education major. I'm in my 3rd year. Some aspects of the choir program that I enjoy is that we have a lot of different opportunities for honestly everybody to succeed.
Yeah, so I'm a senior music education major, and with the choirs, it's really nice to be able to interact with students from all walks of life on campus. You don't really get that opportunity often, especially when you get really deep into your major and like your field of work. And you end up kind of being in this little like microcosm of, I'm learning all about this one subject. So it's really nice to be able to interact and learn more about other students and what's going on around campus and being able to like uplift and support each other in what we're all doing and being able to share our stories together through music and being able to perform just for the sake of performing and enjoying it.
Awesome. And you just recently collaborated with the Oshkosh Symphony Orchestra. What was it like to collaborate something like that?
I mean, as a music education major, it's always really great to have a variety of choral experiences. And honestly, collaborating with an orchestra is something that if I have the opportunity, I want to do with my future ensembles as well. It was also nice to be able to learn how to listen to both the choir and the orchestra.
Yeah, and on top of that, very rarely in your undergraduate career do you get the opportunity to perform swaths of work with the orchestra. And at UW Oshkosh, we've been very lucky for the past 3 years and continuing on to perform with OSO and get these experiences that are very rare in most institutions, at least in the undergraduate scene.
And I guess that leads to like the next question I have is your experiences. Like you just had a really amazing experience opportunity. How do those opportunities and experiences prepare you for your future?
Yeah, so kind of like what Caitlin was talking about, getting this opportunity to rehearse in a new space and explore other genres of music. Of course, we can always, as or in choirs, perform a cappella without any instruments or have smaller ensembles or just a piano to accompany. However, it's a much different dynamic when you're working with a large body of instruments with the orchestra, and being able to access this extra genre of work that isn't performed as often just because of logistics. So going into music education, it's really nice to get the hands-on experience so that when I can step into that position that Dr. Ramseyer was able to, I have an idea and an ear for what my ensemble singers are going to be experiencing and how I can best support them in preparation for any choral work that has an orchestra or larger ensemble to work with.
Yeah, these experiences are also, there's a lot of different ways in which we communicate in a choir ensemble. So, like in a cappella, we communicate with just each other, and that's what we're focused on. In normal choir singing with the piano, it's near us and it's very easy to listen to it and be able to pick up our parts. So we're communicating with both the pianist and all the other choir members. But then with this, it's a completely different thing. We're communicating with the entire orchestra, the entire choir, and the director. So it's just a lot more thinking and ear training.
Sounds like a lot of work and a lot of amazing opportunities that you guys are having. So this next question is for you, Trey. You've taken on a lot of leadership roles with Tones and Titanium. How did you grow into that role, and what's been the most surprising part of leading your peers?
So kind of getting into the role, I had done a cappella in high school, and when I entered college, I had learned that we had some extracurricular a cappella groups. I was like, "Ooh, that sounds fun." So I started getting into it. And in terms of the leadership, I think it just sort of fleshed out, and they kind of it just happened that as I was going through, um, we were in a little midst of a transitional period. We had a lot of graduating seniors that had gone out, and I was one of the eldest members, to put it that way. And we had a whole election cycle, and I was elected because I was interested in growing the a cappella groups. We at the time had Tones and Tots, which Caitlin now directs. And it's been really fun to help or to be able to direct my peers and watch it grow. It's nice because it gives me that little extra cushion of I get some music education experience, I get experience directing my peers, but not the worry that I'm going to be fired from my job if I do it or if I don't do it well. It's an interesting dynamic though, because of course you get that friendship dynamic. They're your peers, they're students. So we're all on the same level. So it's kind of an honor to be able to work with my peers of my same age and just make music together. So a lot of our a cappella rehearsals, sure, I assume the director role, but I work more as I have the ear and I kind of know what the music is supposed to sound like to an extent. And we work for a common goal, and I help just to direct, and I'm that extra ear to kind of help shape what the group's overall artistic image is.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're trying to sound it out and listen to everyone and being collaborative in that environment as well, where you're just trying to learn from each other in that leadership role while also displaying your own leadership on everyone as being the leader of the group, which is fantastic. I've just got one more question for you, Caitlin. I understand that you have been the choir director at Calvary Lutheran Church. What's that responsibility like?
Yeah, so I started there in September. I do just a 1 hour rehearsal every Sunday after church. Me and my little church ladies, they're really great. They're really fun to work with. We usually perform. We usually sing in church once a month. It's been a great experience. We collaborate with the chimes choir at that church as well. Honestly, that's the most practical experience I've ever gotten. It's a different type with older voices, but there's been challenges of picking music that suits for 6 people, or finding a date that works for everybody, and then working with the collaborative pianist as well, and just a lot of coordinating, but it's been very helpful to prepare me for my future.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today, Kristen, Trey Thomas, and Caitlin. My name is Dylan Shabilsky, and this has been Mac Talk.